Here, everyone. Ted Danola here. As we all know, things don't always go to plan. And today's keynote started a little bit later than we expected it to. Now, if you know how keynotes go, generally the first 40 minutes or so are me telling you my story, and then I give you the stuff that really matters. But folks had to run the meetings, they had to run the talks, and I wanted to make sure you had this context for the rest of your NZGDC. Let's get into it. I'm going to go over this first one pretty quickly because I cover it really well in my Tuesday talk. And since we're already doing this online, you can just go to that QR code right there at any point and catch it. We'll go fast. So games are defined as a field. It's a whole spectrum. You're making things either for the art's sake, autonomically, or for the output side, heteronomically, anywhere in between. However, formal games are very, very special. Not necessarily in the best ways. In formal games, rather than trying to do a creative process, you have a group of business folks trying to create a product with creative people and their output as a resource. And while this is an effective way to make products very quickly, because they can dictate what happens, it can lead to really poor results. So this is the hotel in Melbourne that I stay at, the Novotel Hotel in Melbourne South Wharf. And when I first came down, thankfully I already known Kiora, but if I had it, it would be like, what is IO a car? What is that? And it's because this is kind of shit. It's very pretty, but like, hello, that doesn't mean anything. You destroyed the meaning of it. You could add lines here, try and preserve that mountainous shape. I don't really know what they're going for here, but it's just not a great way to do art, which games are all creative processes. So let's assume we can't do formal games in that way anymore. Bring them down. We have to make sure we always have creative vision at least somewhat presented. From my perspective, it's actually going to be that it's always 100% creative value. And then as you get higher risk, you bring business in to provide constraint. All right. So basically you're creating constraints, tighter boxes. You say you can fill this box with whatever you need. But at the very, very bottom there, that's just full experimentation. Let's get rid of this top bar here and look what this looks like as we go from, no business consideration because there's no risk. We're not trying to do it as a business. We can make what we want all the way up to something that would be a little bit riskier. Okay, so very bottom, someone making a game for their cat, for example, they're completely unbound to what they build because they're building it purely for the joy of it. And then as you get higher and higher and higher, Baldur's Gate was a very large spend game. And in order to do that, it had to be very mitigated. How are they able to mitigate it? By building the same game 10 years in a row with experts. So the time they took the swing on this one, they really had things locked down. Okay, but we have to make sure we fund those if we want to do it really well. And there's also this empty space at the top. What could that be? Well, if we're using this framework, that's something where you have 100% business constraint and also 100% creative value. So it doesn't look the same as a box. What it looks like is a very tightly defined shape. And we can see work like that when you go to Park Road Post. Yes, that's film, but creative value is all very similar. And so what these folks are doing is they're up there not doing little boxes that you're making one project of, but instead they're doing a million super tight obstacle courses. And the folks that work on these things are so good at what they do, they get to show off a little. If high quality, something like a Baldur's Gate, something like an Alan Wake 2, if that's people filling these super narrow windows and making them as juicy as possible, what you're seeing at a place like Park Road is like a rehearsal, like a classical performance. It's virtuoso performances. And they do this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times because those folks, you can give them any shape and they say, boom, I'm going to nail it. And they know how to execute. And we can imagine some future where we're able to build games that way. And that can be our new AAA. Because what this would be is the absolute best versions of all things we're good at, mechanics that we know are tried and true, done to their best possibility, narratives and stories tied in effortlessly, and just high quality across. And it's not a celebration of that one particular part of the field. Rather, all of the stuff that came before it goes into it. It's a celebration of everything, from the guy making a game for his cat, all the way up through Dredge, all the way up through Baldur's Gate, and to whatever this beautiful capstone piece is. So how do we get there? Well, you need to stick around for a while. And so I need to make sure you understand what you need to be doing if you're building games as a business. Once again, this is games as a business. As a business. If you're building it any other way, if you're below the half point of that, where you're not worried about money, you're not worried about anything but making the thing you love, you're good to go. But if you're doing this as a business, you need to always be building games in a very specific way, in addition to your core. So what do you have to be doing? One, you need to be building tightly scoped projects. These projects need to have small teams, and they have to be working on a short timeline. Now, why are these three things important? Well, because that is what we call new product development. Because you're going to have the things you do very, very well, and you should keep doing those. You're going to be watching them with data, seeing how they perform. And if you see things start to fall off, you need to have things ready to go or already operating. If you look at companies like Pickpock or Playside over in Australia, both of them have lots of fires in the ovens, lots of things they're good at. And that means they're going to be extremely resilient to change. Whereas if you only make, $40 plus games and the market retracts, folks might be very price sensitive. And if you don't have something ready to go, you're 18 months behind because you have to develop new product. It's a weird way to think about it, but it makes sense if you look at how other businesses operate within the space. What else do we need to do? How else can we help you be more resilient? Well, you do some amazing work, but talking about yourself is really hard. I mean, if you trust that you're miraculous is what happened, but like talking about yourself, especially in this culture where you're very, very trusting, you're also very, very community focused. I noticed when I went, for example, to Mass University, they're not allowed to take a credit. That's amazing. In the United States, people take solo credit for teamwork all the time, and I appreciate you for this. So rather than trying to force you to talk about yourself, although sometimes you may have to, let's try to hack this a little bit. So what if you talk about your friends? Okay? Trust that your friends are miraculous things, and then miraculous things will happen. One of my friends is an artist here named Pepper Raccoon. She makes apparel, she makes stickers, earrings, she makes the shirt I am wearing right now. And you can buy her stuff. It's incredible. You should go to her site and look at it. Even if you can't afford it, take pictures of it and tell people to buy it because you'll love the art, appreciate the art, and if you can compensate her for it and wear some of her cool shit, you get to wear cool shit and she gets to keep making it. Who's another awesome friend? This is Anton and Jess, founders of Beyond VR. When I met them last year, they gave me two things. One, they gave me a bag that had it was a Beyond VR tote bag, which meant it was a Weta bag with Beyond written over it in black Sharpie, and I still have that hanging in my office. And I have this picture sitting on my mantle. And whenever I look over there, it reminds me of the whole auto and game development scene. And so they put in the work with that little tiny token to make sure that I keep paying attention, so that I can be here for you, even when I'm thousands and thousands of miles away. They also be fantastic innovators. And if you ever want to have a fun time, just have Jess 30 some pitches because she'll be sitting there talking to you about zippers. And then 3 days in, while you're thinking this is a fun little gem, also you share 3 incredibly high quality IP dependent pitches that are just brilliant people. And then, of course, we have Pickpock and we have Mario and Kara here. They're so kind and lovely. And they're also really smart because they hired this guy. This is Alex Legg. You might know Alex. And that's because Alex is a wonk who sits and builds amazing things. If you ever have a chance, you should go to Pickpock and be like, if you would be so kind, I would love to sign an NDA so I can see Alex's incredible VR things because you will come away super impressed. Doubly so if you know how he does it and realize how much work he had to do to pull it off. So here's my challenge to you, this NZGDC. Think about the people that you know are awesome. Doesn't have to be a full list, doesn't have to be an order, doesn't be the most awesome. Who is one person right now who is awesome? Make a post about them. Tell everybody in the world, hey, they're doing great work. Shine a light on them. Be a good companion to the community. Use this hashtag, and then when you look through it, you'll have a wonderful list of kiwis that everyone can learn about. All right, now Q&A is a little bit hard with a video, but great, I have a QR code you can go to. Esmond.net has all my socials. You'll find it right there above my head as well. Go there and send me some messages. All right, that's all. Some other things here real fast. If you're doing VR, please come find me. If you want to meet, I have a meeting link. That's for VR people, but it's also for games people. It's also for folks that just want to hang out. Grab some time with me. Let me get to know you. The more I know you and your concerns, the better I can help your community. And one more thing. I have been looking at games very seriously, and I am playing at business. I've had some wonderful feedback from lovely folks, but this is not a company yet. This is a concept. I'm just playing. So if you're interested in what I'm thinking about building, which is trying to navigate the gulf between VC and traditional formats and games, which I explained once again in my Tuesday talk, give me a ring. Come find me. Check out the site. And I would love to hear from you, especially if you worked in the VC space, if you're a publisher, or you've had a lot of pain getting funding. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Nami.